Welcome to our fourth Train the Trainers for California Rebuilding Fund TA provider. All the other ones are up on our website. I will post a link to that. That was the one link I did not pull up right away. So when I stop talking in a couple of,
you can go grab it.
I'll grab it and post it in to see the other ones. For those of you who have joined us before, you're probably well versed and know Susan. Feel like now you know she's in a band. We're really fun here at CAMEO. I think that's one of our organizational values that we decided on. My fun fact is that I fire dance, or I have fire dance once upon a time. So I play with fire. So anyways, I'm Heidi Pickman. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the VP of Programs and Policy, and Susan's going to be your trainer. And we also have Dan Moret, who on the call, who's with Connect2Capital, and we'll get to him.
He's got his own slides.
So I have no special skills or abilities to brag about, though.
Oh, come on.
No, you should say you're that fight trainer person. That.
Oh yeah.
Dan Moret.
I share a name with an MMA fighter, so if you ever Google me, I am not the MMA fighter.
Great. I just wanted to give everybody a couple of CAMEO updates. For those of you from the Sacramento area, just think of like an hour circle around, more or less. Or also we put Truckee and sort of the Tahoe region up there in with these guys because we only have one member. We're having a regional meeting on Tuesday from 3 to 5. Mostly going to have a good time and also hear from you about how things are going. And then on Wednesday at 11, we have the LA Members Collaborative is hosting Speaking Up for Change. We have a great speaker, and I'll pop the links to those in the chat. And with that, I'll just turn it over to Susan to take us through the agenda and the rest of the meeting.
Sure. I understand. And that last bullet, if some of what you're getting trained on today really is covered in our Microlending Essentials, which is our microlending underwriting course. And then our CFI Essentials is a class that's about how to actually just build all the programs, all the elements of a loan program. If TA providers are welcome to do Microlending Essentials in particular, I think it makes you a stronger coach, even if you're not a lender. And of course, if you're a lender and you want some, some more skills around underwriting, please consider taking that. We'll be starting both of those in the first quarter of 2021. So here's what we're doing today. If you could put into chat right now your name, organization, and title, that would be really helpful. When we have smaller groups, we do, actually have people introduce themselves, but we can't do it. I think we have probably 61 people, too many. But we'd love to know who's here. So if you wouldn't mind putting your name, organization, and title in the chat room, that'd be super helpful. We're going to get an update and with Dan Moret on the, we're going to get an update from Dan on the program, but also just a little update on this new announcement that Gavin Newsom made. God, was it Monday or Tuesday? It was recently. Then the bulk of today we're going to be spending doing the California Rebuilding Fund credit requirements and debt to income ratio. So of all the trainings we've done so far, this one's the wonkiest. Happy to take questions. And then like we said, we left a nice chunk of time at the end for any kind of just general questions. How's it going? Other kinds of training. This is the last training we have kind of planned at this point. We can do monthly check-in meetings if that's helpful. If you think that would be helpful for you, we can organize those. So we'd love to get your feedback on what you need going forward, either for the grant program, which might become sort of like a subset of the Rebuilding Fund project, we don't know yet, and the Rebuilding Fund project itself.
Susan, I'm going to ask everybody if they think it would be helpful if we had one call before the holidays, like and we'll just schedule it probably for 2 weeks from now, just in case people have questions where they want to chime in.
Right.
Yeah, just to open. We're not going to prepare
Right.
anything, but if you guys we'll have Dan on. Dan, so we'll coordinate it with you if that's okay. And just to answer any technical questions or any other issues that you guys are having with the Rebuilding Fund program. Does that sound like a good idea? Thumbs up, everybody.
Thumbs up or type it into chat. Heidi's monitoring the chat for us. Heidi, I just grabbed this off the Gavin Newsom press release.
Yeah,
So
I could talk briefly
yeah,
about
go ahead.
we don't want to, we don't know details yet, so we don't have anything to share with you other than really what's on the press release. There's going to be $500 million in grants coming to California businesses. They're going to be for small businesses, maximum, I think it's 20 employees, maximum of $25,000. The RFP for administering that grant just came out yesterday or late last night or something like that. And the general timeline is that the applications will open sometime, we think, at the end of January, and the money should be deployed sometime in April. So that's the general timeline. So everybody just hang on to your hats for that one. We'll make sure that you get the information when we have it and when you're able to participate, when you can start, helping your clients apply for that and all that kind of stuff, right? Carolina.
Hello everybody. I'm Carolina Martinez from CAMEO, and I just wanted to complement something that Heidi mentioned. This is something we want to make sure all of you are aware, and also to understand that it's different from the rebuilding fund. So I know we've heard that it hasn't been a lot of confusion, but we've had some questions about it. This is a different initiative. The rebuilding fund is a loan product. This will be a small business grant up to $25,000. The rebuilding fund, as you know, goes all the way to $100,000. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is a different initiative. That it was announced this week by Governor Newsom. There is a lot of details, as Heidi was mentioning, that is still up in the air. But the main thing is, please just make sure that it's completely different, and that there is a lot of little details that need to be ironed out before it actually goes live to the businesses, probably later, early next year. Oh, we don't know.
And I just want to make one more comment that this is really a testament to partners on this call and CAMEO partners. We've been calling for grants for years, since the pandemic started.
It feels like years.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like years. And I just want to since a lot of you all were probably on many of those calls, and many, supported a lot of the work that we did and the calls that we've had with people. Just want to say this, you spoke what their businesses need. They need grants, and this is unprecedented investment in small business from the state of California. It's really kind of amazing. So this hasn't happened before. So it's like, wow. So anyway,
and I'd like to tag one more thing on. I'm sure for everybody on this call, it's maybe just obvious to the point where you don't think it needs saying. I want to emphasize something Carolina said. To a lot of small business owners out there, the difference between a grant and a loan may not be apparent initially. I used to be a small business coach, and I'd get all the time people not really understanding. They'd use almost grant and loan interchangeably in their language. The other thing is, there's one of these great myths out there that there's grants for businesses, and now it's actually true. But I think working very closely with your clients to make sure they understand what a loan is and a grant is, and don't maybe take it for granted that they really are very clear about the different concepts, so that if they're applying for something, they really understand what they're applying for. So let's move on to Dan, because Dan only has a half an hour for us today. Dan is managing the Connect2Capital, the platform for the California Rebuilding Fund. And do you want to update us on numbers? I think I have numbers on the next slide, but apparently they're not accurate. Do you want to update us, Dan?
Yeah, as of we have another 700 applications overnight, so we're up to about 4,500. Folks have requested just shy of $300 million. So the math breaks out to about a $65,000 average loan request. 77% of our applications have been matched with a lender. So we are really, really pleased with that percentage. Again, this isn't designed to serve all small businesses. This is really designed to serve a subset of them. Even so, we want to make sure that we are working to direct those unmatched borrowers to resources, a la all of the people on this call. One of the things that we are coming up against is that there are significant privacy concerns about me sharing data with folks that didn't explicitly authorize their data being shared. So we are working really hard with a bunch of smart lawyers to try and address this, insofar as being able to direct unmatched applicants to additional resources. They were offered additional resources when they landed on the sort of final page of the application, and they weren't matched with a lender. But again, that's an opt-in. That is not anything that we can sort of proactively reach out to them for. So we're working hard to get those folks served. And then, yeah, Susan's main reasons for declines. We have.
This is what I heard yesterday on the call, Dan.
Yep. Yeah, and I let me see if I can find a number. It looks like of the 4,200. Looks like around 400-ish have been already declined because they had too much revenue, they had too many employees, they had other things where they maybe weren't upfront on their pre-application. So there are folks that are already being weeded out of the pipeline so that we can get these dollars to the folks that this program was intended for. That said, we, CDFIs are actively processing loans. We expect the first loans to be funded this week. So we're really excited about the speed and the sort of enthusiasm that all of our lending partners have shown with this, and all of the partners in the California small business ecosystem have shown. So we really appreciate everybody's support and engagement. And just making sure that we are trying to get this out into the ecosystem so folks know that this is a resource for them and their business, assuming they fit sort of the profile of the folks we're trying to serve.
So Dan, there's
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, questions for Dan, especially about the application process. I really want to make sure there's no questions there. Go ahead, Heidi.
Oh, I was going to say, Donna says this is only for businesses and not nonprofits, correct?
Yeah, nonprofits are not eligible for rebuilding fund loans.
Right. And then how many CDFIs are participating? That I know I can answer. I think there's 12 right
There
now.
are 12. One of our participating CDFIs is wrapping up a different program right now, so they are not actively lending. But as of, I think in about 2 weeks, that'll be done, and we will have 12 lenders in the program. Right now, we have 11 originating lenders.
Great. And they're on that page. Type in California.
Yep, they're on caloanfund.org. You can go and see them on. Thank you, Heidi. See the list of the folks that are participating.
So.
Any other technical or mechanical?
But the application goes into, they start with the C2C website, the California Connect, that website I just posted in, the californialoanfund.org, and then they match with a lender.
Yeah, Connect2Capital is a pre-application, just making sure that they are a fit for the type of businesses the program is designed to serve. And then subsequently, the lenders take it from there, underwriting the business, doing a lot of the stuff that you guys are going to talk about today, assessing debt-to-income ratios, seeing what kind of loan they would qualify for, et cetera. And then the lender issues the loan independent of the platform.
Yeah. So Dan, I have another question, and people can chime in on this if this is the experience that they've had. We had a call earlier this week, and one of the issues that was brought up is that the applicant didn't either realize they had to click on it, they didn't realize they got an email from the California Rebuilding Fund, or what they had to do with that. Can you walk us through that end process again so that everybody can prepare their clients properly?
Yep. So when somebody connects with a lender on Connect2Capital, there's a connect button that they would click on, and that click triggers 2 automated emails. One that goes to the inbox that the applicant put in during the pre-application. So, dan.moret@crfusa.com. And the next one would go to the lender specifically and the product owner for who is managing the inflow for California Rebuilding Fund loans. Oftentimes it's a team, so that is usually loans at opportunityfund.org or whatever it would be. With that, they then farm out those leads to their business development officers, who are then reaching out to those clients to invite them into the formal loan process with the lenders. So the borrower gets an email and the lender gets an email, and then the two of them are left to connect from there. And so that's how the outreach is facilitated at the end of the pre-application process on caloanfund.org.
So make sure that you coach your clients to click on that connect button, or else, and connect with one of the lenders. And then when they automatically get an email from the lender. And is there some information there, Dan?
They automatically get an email from the system, not the lender.
Okay.
So Connect2Capital says, this is confirming you have matched with a lender for a California Rebuilding Fund loan. I don't exactly remember the language, but couple paragraphs, including the name of the lender they have matched with. And so the last sentence is something along the lines of, if you have any questions, please return to the California CALoanFund.org for the frequently asked questions, or reach out to your matched lender, which is insert name here.
Okay. So they are getting information. So if they say they're not, they are.
If they say they're not, they unfortunately likely put in the wrong email. That's the most, is that somebody just had a typo in their email of, they put in don.moret instead of dan.moret. And I can't do anything about those snafus. And so if they are searching their spam folders, their inbox, and everywhere else that it might be, make sure they're checking personal inboxes as well as business inboxes. Sometimes people forget what email they put in.
Dan, that you had a no reply email that it would be.
It comes from no reply at connect2capital.com.
Connect to the
CONNECT, the number 2, CAPITAL.com.
And no reply is no dash reply, right?
I think it's all one word. I think it's no reply.
It's like this, Connect2Capital, like that.
Yep.
With the 2.
So they could search for that email.
Yes. Or they can search for California Rebuilding Fund, because that text is in the body as well, and a Gmail search or whatever would pop that up as well. I saw a question pop up about statistics about borrowers. I think we are up to 49 of the 55, I think it's 55 counties in California, 58?
58.
Yeah, I think we have 49 counties represented with matched applications. 66% of the matched borrowers self-identify as a diverse business owner, being minority-owned, women-owned. We have, let me find the numbers.
66%?
66, yep.
Yeah, okay.
So about 3,700 of the 4,500 applications self-identify as having less than 10 employees. Let me see if I can find some additional stuff. Yeah, it looks like we have, yeah, we have, I mean, as you would imagine, we have actually pretty good statewide coverage. The lion's share of the demand is coming from where the population centers are in the Bay Area, in Southern California, over into the Inland Empire, and into San Bernardino County. A good portion of them in Fresno, in sort of the Central Valley area. I think that's most of what I can share in terms of the diverse statistics.
And over the course of today, if you Dan does have to leave early today, but if you have additional questions, please type them in chat or email them to Heidi. We're happy to gather answers and pass them on if something occurs to you after Dan has to drop off. And we'll find a way.
I just popped my email into chat, so.
Yeah. Okay, so are we done with questions? Can we go to the next part, or is there anything left in chat, Heidi?
Not that I can tell. I think we can. Okay.
Move on.
Move on.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it so much. Good numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks everybody for the support. Thanks for all the help.
Yeah.
Again, we are really trying to crack the nut around continuing to assist those unmatched borrowers, but I'm at the mercy of the lawyers at this point. So
Well, let's
Appreciate
keep our
everybody's
fingers
time
crossed.
and engagement, and look forward to continuing to work with you all.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Bye,
we'll
everyone.
see.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, so let's get into the next part. Like I said, the topic today is we want to go over these credit requirements that are part of the what's required in order to qualify for this loan. And I've got them listed here on this slide, and then get to this debt to income ratio. That's also one of the requirements. So just for review, these are the current credit requirements, I think, as of last week. I hope they haven't changed in this week. But no active bankruptcies, no delinquencies, 30-day delinquencies in January, February of 2020. In other words, in pre-COVID, they kind of have to be like really clean on their credit. They can have one delinquency basically in the COVID period that's not more than 60 days. No repossessions or foreclosures in the past 36 months, no outstanding tax liens, and no unpaid child support. So I wanted to kind of walk you through some credit report, like looking at some credit reports, so that you can actually find this data. You know, if it's not something you do regularly at your job, if you're a coach or a lender, like how do I actually help a client? Because I think the two things you could do to really help clients is probably at least do a credit screen on these things, and maybe do a really rough debt to income ratio, as well as some of those other kinds of requirements, like they don't have too many business owners and too many employees, and that you have to demonstrate that you've experienced a loss during COVID. I mean, there's quite a bit you have to qualify for, but these might be some of the harder ones too. So let's just go over some definitions so that you know this. In terms, slow pays, late payments, and delinquencies are all kind of the same. Maybe somebody out there knows that there's some technical difference between these three, but in general, I think of them as fairly the same. So a late payment or slow pay is when a consumer pays 30 days after the payment is due. So they can have none of those prior to COVID. So that's pretty stringent. And if a consumer pays 60 days after the payment is due, they'll be considered 60 days late. So they can have one of those since COVID has started. So that's your definition there. And certainly if we get up into the 90 days late, probably aren't going to qualify for this loan product. So just a little bit information about, again, it says no tax liens and unpaid child support. So in 2018, the three main credit bureaus, which is Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, decided to remove tax liens from both state and federal from credit reports altogether because of inaccuracies. If you want to, I don't actually know how all the CDFIs are going to check for tax liens and unpaid child support, but there is a LexisNexis report called RiskView that does provide this kind of information. And it is something I think you have to subscribe to, just sort of like subscribing to credit reports if you're pulling credit reports like a lender. So you probably just want to have a conversation with your borrowers about, we've really got to know whether you've got tax liens or unpaid child support. Just so you know, unpaid child support and can be classified as collections, court judgments, or even a delinquent trade line. It can show up, there's not a standard way of putting that in a credit report if it does show up there. So I don't know if you would never see this on a credit report, like if in that 2018 thing is like it's completely gone, or you'll see it sometimes, or you'll see old ones, because these things stick around for 7 years. So you're going to have to go on a little bit of a hunt on the credit report to find if there's any of these items. Yeah, sure, Heidi.
Carla from Main Street Lounge put in chat that child support generally shows up on a credit report for lenders. Carla, do you have any insights, since you've been looking at these probably a lot, on how that's showing up?
Does it show up as a collection, a court judgment, or a trade line?
All of the above.
I've seen it under like the public record section of a credit report. So it does show up in the same place that a
court judgment would show up.
Yeah, like a judgment or collections would show up, but it also shows up sort of as like a trade line.
Okay. Well, it's really, yeah. So it looks like child support maybe shows up. Maybe the tax liens don't. I'm not an expert on this. And certainly I'm happy for people who are who look at credit reports all day long, maybe have more detailed information they can write in chat or share with us. But the final point is, unpaid child support or tax lien will not be removed from the credit report for 7 years. Instead, it will be marked as satisfied. So if you do have clients that have tax liens or unpaid child support, you can get them at least paid up. And hopefully, I think that would qualify them if they got it cleaned up. I'm not 100% sure how every CDFI would handle that resolve problem.
I'm attaching.
I think we might need to mute some people. So just
Susan,
so you know
before
that
you go on, there's a
Yeah.
request to up your volume a little bit.
Oh, sure. Hold on. I got too much stuff. I have to stop sharing to do that. Should I do that? Am I sounding too soft?
I hear you fine, but there's been a couple of people who have mentioned. So the people who have mentioned it might want to check their volume as well on their computers.
Yeah, if you can, audio settings, let me see if I can turn it up a little. Okay. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to take one more second. And if this doesn't work, then yeah, check the audio settings on your own computer because, okay, I've turned it up a little. I don't know if that helped. Okay, so let me go back to sharing. So credit reports are kind of the same and also kind of different. They're kind of this weird thing that you have to sort of learn to read. It's like a different language, but they follow this general structure usually. That the first section is basic information like name, social security number, address. It could have some employment and residential information and things like that. Then there's usually some kind of account summary section where it's sort of rolled up your whole history into a box of like maybe 20 or 30 boxes. It has total trade lines, total number of negative or late payments, total amount outstanding, total monthly payments, things like that. Then sometimes
Susan, can you tell us what a trade line is? I never heard that term before.
Oh, a trade line. It just means a loan, like your credit cards, your car loan.
Who you have some outstanding credit with.
Yeah, okay. They call them trade lines. Yeah. Then there'll be a section sometimes that if you're not doing a soft pull, and we're going to talk about this a little later, if you're doing a hard pull where the credit score, which is usually the FICO 8 score, shows up, that'll be sometimes next. Then there's a section, just like Carla was talking about, like there's this section with your derogatory, they call it derogatory information, your negative information. And they kind of bunch it all together, and it can be your civil judgments, your tax liens, your unpaid child support, collections, bankruptcies, all that usually is kind of at the top, you might say, of the trade line section. There's a couple people in the waiting room, Heidi. Then the next section usually is open accounts in good standing. Then at the bottom, there's closed accounts, and the very bottom are inquiries, which is if you've been applying for credit cards or loans in different places, usually before somebody kind of just even thinks about it, they'll do at least a soft pull on you, and it'll show up as an inquiry. So I put little asterisks by the account summary and number 4 here, the derogatory or negative information, because that's the place, if you're trying to help somebody see if they qualify for this loan product, is where you'll find the stuff on bankruptcies, delinquencies, slow pays, and foreclosures and things like that. So I thought what we could do is sort of look at examples, and I've got several here I can show you, that to just start to show you how the structure is. And at the end of this slide deck, we have a bunch of documents that we can share with you guys after this is over. So, all right. So this is income. I'm going to go to a different page of this. This is some of you might know this. This is a case study from our Oops, sorry, I think I'm going the wrong way. Am I going the wrong way? No, sorry. Hold on, let me just hang in there while I get to the, here we go.
I'll say it's a case study from
So
our
what the-
Microlending Essentials class.
Right. So here is, this is a credit report from the case study. And like I said, this very first section appears what I call the identifying information, where they have names, social security number, addresses, and so on. That's kind of some basic information. And then here's the report summary. And again, this looks different on different credit reports, but it'll have some kind of summary like this, where total number of trades, and that just means number of loans. Trades, I don't really know what unrated trade, current negative trade. So here's where you'd start to see if there's some kind of problem. History of negative trades would be right here. Any past due, you'd start to see right here. So if you start to march through the credit summary, you'll start to see if somebody's 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late, you'll start seeing this kind of thing here. Public records will show up here. And so this is at least the first place you can look on a credit report to see if there's any issues you want to identify before launching people onto the Connect2Capital California Rebuilding Fund application. And again, not every credit report structured exactly like this. Then there can be a scorecard or various kinds of scores. This FICO 8 score is the one I think most CDFIs use for the most part. Some of them might use a blended score. There's probably some various things there. And I'll go over a little bit about the FICO score in a minute, but that's off in the next section. And then the next section is where we get to what they call the trade lines. Now this person didn't have any derogatory information, so there's no negative information to see. And we just launch right into their open accounts. So I'll just give you one other tip. Depending on how it's structured, often what they do is they give you the headings right here in this like box, and then the trade lines below don't have the headings. So if you see this upper left-hand box, it says firm name ID. It'll tell you, okay, so this is the BMW loan right here. And then it'll have the date opened. It'll be this box right here, the credit limit right here, the balance right here, the monthly payment right here. So one thing I want you to notice is this monthly payment, because one of the things you may need to do as part of your assessment with people, if you want to go this direction, is start to look at what their total debt is. In other words, you'll see that the debt to income ratio asks you to add up their monthly debt service, the business's monthly debt service. And we'll get into this with more detail, but one of the things that's true in most microlending is that you're pulling consumer credit reports, not business credit reports mostly. And so what can happen on these credit reports is the business and the personal debt could be showing up all on the same credit report. So you're going to have to sit down with your customer and have a discussion like, is this BMW, which let's assume in this case is a personal debt that's paid out of the personal bank account, then you wouldn't count it in the debt to income ratio. Whereas maybe if this person was in business and you see that they have this installment loan, I'm actually not 100% sure what this is for, at $512 a month, and they say, yeah, that is a business loan and that the business is making this loan payment, then that would be something you'd grab and put into your analysis. So what happens is all the active accounts come first, and then eventually you'll start to get to these closed accounts, because closed accounts stay, I don't actually know how long they stay on your credit report, but they stay on for a while. And so if it just says closed normally, closed by consumer, it just means that for whatever reason they paid off this loan or they closed this credit card, that kind of thing. Revolving means a credit card. And it's just all these closed accounts just stay on the credit report for a while. And then finally, at the very bottom of the credit report, you'll get the inquiries. Let me see if I can scroll down to this. So there's a lot of closed accounts here. And if we get to the very bottom, you'll start to see the inquiries here at the bottom. So the last thing I want to point out are these weird little boxes. Let me go back up to the top of this one here. Give me another minute.
Oh, that's really interesting. This is not user-friendly at all, huh, Susan?
No, I don't think it is. I think you have to develop an eye for this. So you see this box called pattern. that's what this box relates to right here, this pattern. And this pattern, oopsie, is going to start to tell you whether they're making those payments on time. And it looks different. I'm going to show you some other sample credit reports. It looks different. This is a TransUnion credit report. And if you go to the TransUnion user guide, and we can share all these documents with you, it will tell you that a 1 in the pattern box means that they're paying on time. A 2 means they're 30 days late. A 3 means they're 60 days late. A 4 means they're 90 days late. So if you see a pattern of 1s on a TransUnion guide in this pattern payment pattern box, it means they're paying on time. And you'd be scrolling down looking for any 2s or 3s to see if there's any slow pays. Because remember, they can have no slow pays at the beginning of 2020 and only one 60-day late pay since the COVID period. Again, this is TransUnion, so it's all, I think what I saw here, these X's, for some reason, the TransUnion guide, the X means pay information not available. So it's kind of odd, like they show a bunch of on-time payments and then a bunch of X's. Who knows why? I can't explain it. It's just, you know, I don't know how this data actually gets shared. For some reason that maybe the lender didn't report the data on certain months. So let me show you a couple other credit reports here, and just so you get an idea of how they look kind of different.
While you're switching credit reports, Susan, Yeri had a question if there are any major differences you've seen in credit reports from individuals I-10s versus Social Security members, or any other experience with I-10s.
Oh, that's such a, I wish Nathaniel or somebody was on the call here. I don't have that answer, Yeri. It's a great question, and maybe we can get back to you. I think what happens sometimes is people are so hesitant to lend with people with I-10 numbers is that their credit reports are thin. I mean, that's the one thing I think I do know is that, and one of the problems is your credit score can be really low just because you haven't used credit much. And so I think that's, unfortunately, one of the challenges with I-10 holders is they may just have a very thin credit report and a low credit score as a result. The credit report itself looks different. I don't know.
Yeah, we can get some more information on that and report back. And then the clarifying question on the TransUnion on the last thing, you don't have to go back, but the last one in the sequence on those patterns is the most recent payment. Is that right?
I don't think so, because if you go up here, you see it says all these 1s and then plus 29. I think it's I think it's the other way around. I think the first number is the most recent, but that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I just assumed when it had this plus 29, that was like back in history. You see what I'm saying? That's 29 more 1s.
This is on the TransUnion, right?
Yeah, this is the TransUnion.
We'll get the answer to that too.
Yeah. So here's an Experian sample credit report. And again, you see it's structured kind of the same way. There's this basic identifying information first. And then it doesn't really have right here, I don't think it shows the summary or the credit score. But what I liked about this sample credit report I found online is right away it says potentially negative items. So that's, again, the negative items are usually sorted towards the top and are a problem. So this is where you start to look and you say Maine County Clerk. Okay, there's some kind of county unpaid civil claim, or there's some kind of civil claim here. County, I don't know what, suspect property taxes was, I don't know, some kind of fine, like a speeding ticket. I mean, I don't really know enough about how to identify these things. But I think when you start to see anything like this, your client may have a hard time qualifying. Let's see, here's another one.
Susan, okay, I have a question.
So here's one that says past due 60 days. Bingo.
I have a relevant question because I have a lien on that was supposed to be cleared. Like when I bought my house, there's like a $200 lien because some garbage payment that the previous owner didn't pay and it carried over or whatever. It was paid, and I just haven't
Heidi, you should get on that. That's all I have to say. You should get on that.
Okay. All right.
Okay. You need to have your documentation that it's been handled. But you definitely, if your client has handled a lien and has documentation, but hasn't conveyed that information to the credit agencies, you want to help them do that. All the credit agencies do have dispute or errors or, you know, places where you can send in data to say, please update my information.
All right. I think it's not on my credit report, but it's.
You might want to go look.
I'll go look. Yeah.
Go look. So this one is past due 60 days. So here's another one, and it's some kind of bank. It's an installment loan, so I don't know what, you know, again, what exactly this was. Installment loan usually means like it's a car loan or something like that. Revolving usually means a credit card. Here's another, main collection agency. So here's a collection, 95, you know, and the original creditor, televised cable company. They didn't pay their cable bill. These are the things that you can hunt down on a credit report and start to help a client clean it up. So you can do your clients a lot of favors by not getting them to apply for these loan programs without addressing some of these problems, because they're likely to get denied. And, you know, that's a lot of time and disappointment and everything for everyone. But once you get past the collection agencies, you get down again to the accounts in good standing. And you can say, here's an automobile finance loan, open, never late. So there's different ways this can show up, but that's the kind of thing you're looking for, is you're looking for the status payment pattern, however they happen to show it, depending on the company that you're pulling on. Okay, so that's one example. I've got a few more examples. I'm going to go ahead and just take the time to show you some bunch of examples on credit reports today, because the one thing I want to say about accounts in good standing is, do I see it here? Recent balance, payment, recent payment. Yeah, payment right here. You see this 210. Remember, if you're going to do the debt to equity ratio, excuse me, I call it debt to income ratio calculation with your customers, you start looking for that monthly payment and start figuring out which of these are paid out of the personal, is a personal debt that's being paid out of the personal checking, hopefully, and which are being paid by the business. And if your client is mushing it all together into one checking account and is not separating business and personal, then just get them on that. Help them create two accounts and start separating out the business debt from the personal debt. Okay. And so you see, you can just keep scrolling down and seeing, here's another one, closed, never late. So I can't even quite tell what this is. It just says main because this is a sample report, but you know, perhaps this was a revolving, this was a credit card that was closed, never late. So these are, you kind of have to just be patient and read each one and read all these little details, and then get the consumer guide for each. We can't supply you with, I did download I think it's reading a sample credit report. Here it is. You see, each one of the agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, have what I'd call user guides, and they do provide you with all this kind of like how to. It's an 8-page thing about how to read it. And the most important thing, you see, it starts to get pretty. It can be kind of challenging to read, but they have these numbers here, and then there's text on the next page that helps walk you through it. And some of the main stuff on this one that I wanted to point out that's challenging to see, it's like even right now, I looked at this yesterday and I'm kind of looking at it going, oh, where is it? Is how current they are. Let me keep going. Yeah, here we go. This is what I'm looking at. You see, it's so bizarre. Here they have all these C's. That means current. And I think if I go down here, what was that? Was that number 47? You see, number 47 explains what those C's mean. And so you scroll down here, consumers payment history. C means current. N means current zero balance. 0 means current zero balance. 1 means 30 days past due. So get this, TransUnion, a 1 in the payment pattern means you're on time. In Experian, a 1 means you're 30 days past due. So I don't know what to tell you guys. You just got to get, you know, all these documents and figure this out. So in this case, the C's are a good sign. If you saw the 1, 2s, or 3s, we'd know there were some late pays and slow pays here, okay? I found this, which is just a general, like how to read a credit report. It's super generic, but it's really nice. I can't remember right now where I got it, but again, it walks you through, it shows you example credit report and then gives you explanatory information and tips over here on the right-hand side. So again, you see, this will start to show, it's just like I said, it starts with this identifying information and addresses and stuff like that. It can have employment records on there as well. And then it starts to show you, you know, if you've got problems. Here's a regional federal court docket number of some kind of, you know, Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And depending on the date, remember the bankruptcies, was it 36 months, can't have a bankruptcy? I can't remember what it said in the qualifying criteria for the rebuilding fund, but you definitely want to, if you see a bankruptcy, you want to start looking at the dates and looking at that criteria and making sure your clients qualify. And here's now what you might see are a lot of medical collection agency thing. Now, I don't know the answer to this, and maybe if there's any of the 12 CDFIs who are participating in the rebuilding fund can answer this. Usually CDFIs set aside problems with medical bills because people can get, through no fault of their own, have a huge, you know, medical bill and have a hard time paying it. So that's something I'm not sure how the rebuilding fund is going to handle that. Often these are kind of forgiven as long as there's some kind of payment plan in place or something like that. But you can see this is a hospital collection. Here's another hospital collection. So those are very common. All American collections, I don't know what this was for exactly, individual account, you know, account included in a bankruptcy. So, you know, this person had problems. But again, this is a really nice document to start to get you clear about what, you know, kinds of things you can see on a credit report and how to analyze them. So here's how some of the credit reports look. So satisfactory accounts, accounts in good standing, trade lines, yeah, have all these different languaging. This is an individual account, an installment account, which means it's like either a mortgage or a car payment or something like that. And often they have these OKs, or sometimes they'll have green, red, and yellow boxes. So this X, I'm assuming might mean no data, but this 30 right here probably means was 30 days late, possibly that, but I'd have to go get the user guide to make sure I'm reading the codes right for this. So again, this is just giving you some idea of how the payment patterns, this is, this one I actually think is the easiest one to read, obviously, right? It just says okay, which is nice. And the X probably means no data. So that you can scroll through this a lot easier and kind of see what's going on with their satisfactory accounts. So the last thing I want to show you that can happen to people is this, believe it or not, is my credit report, which I've kind of scrubbed of my personal data that I pulled in 2012 when I bought my house. And as you'll see in a minute, with a name like Susan Brown, you can get a lot of junk on your credit card that's there by error. And I ended up having several people's bad credit on my credit report. So here we have an Alameda County record of some kind, again, some kind of fine or, you know, claim amount, $12,000. I have no idea what that was, but an Alameda County claim. Alliance One Receivables Management Company, Alameda turned over their debt maybe to a collection company.
So none of these are yours, Susan.
None of these were mine. I never lived in Alameda County. You know, I didn't live at any of these places. None of these were mine. And it kind of, if you see this, it goes on and on and on. AMA Collection Services.
Oh my God, this is a nightmare.
It was. I looked at this and my heart stopped, you know. And so at one point when I was studying this, I felt bad because some of these are medical, but they're not all medical. Some of them are other things, you know, like this is NorCal Imaging. So this is a medical debt, but some of them were other stuff. And so I just want to point out, like you can see this, I'm already on page 6 and we're still not past the derogatory or negative accounts on this that weren't mine. So if you pull a credit report and someone's looking at it going, that doesn't look like, you know, here's another, you know, credit management, Credit One Bank sold some kind of debt to try to collect.
Yeah, especially with a name, like a popular name,
if
right?
you have a common name. And so if I scroll down here, and we don't have to spend much more time on this, I think at some point it shows how many different names were on this. And there were a lot of different names. And so I just wanted to show you what can happen, because I dug this out of the archives of my files recently, because maybe I can't find it easily, but somewhere it has a bunch of names, and I'm sorry I don't have have it right in front of me. But you know, it was like 4 or 5 different names. So and so Brown, Deirdre Brown, Sally Brown, Susan Brown, all these different Browns. So definitely help your, and I was able to clear this up instantly, because I think the minute Experian looked at this, they said, oh my God, this is clearly not all hers. And they cleaned it up for me really quickly. I hope your customers have the same experience, that when there's true errors on there, they get cleaned up pretty fast.
So Susan, what did you do? Just call Experian in that case? Is that like, does that usually?
Well, they have an online dispute place. So this was 2012. So in the old days, you had to write letters. It took forever, but they all have online dispute sites, or, you know, part of their menus. And you need to go find it and sit down and dispute everything that you think is incorrect, and give them a little time to look into it. If anybody has any stories to share, maybe I'll pause there for just a minute. Does anybody have stories to share about repairing mistakes? It went quickly for me in 2012. I thought maybe because it was so egregious, they just kind of went, oh, geez. But I had a very easy time of it. Okay, well, I'll just keep going here then. So I hope your eyes haven't all crossed there on the credit reports, but
say I've never looked at all these different credits. I look at my own, and they're kind of like, okay, I look at my own, I kind of know what's on there. It's like, they're
gnarly. Yeah, they're gnarly. So definitely go and get those consumer guides, and I have TransUnion and Experian. I didn't get Equifax's, but I'm sure it's out there where you can do that. So so that's just so that you can check these things. Let me go back to all this stuff. So that's where you can start checking this. And again, one of the biggest favors I think you can do for your customers is like save them the agony or the disappointment of applying for something that they don't have a chance of qualifying for, by walking through their credit report and looking for all these little details. Okay. And hopefully that got your feet wet enough that you're not too scared to go and try it on your own. Then the next thing is to figure out this debt to income ratio thing. So here's the formula that's in the requirements. Monthly business debt service divided by business revenues. So remember, business revenues, not net profit. So I'm taking that as, unless someone corrects me on this call, I'm taking that as gross sales, total sales. Has to be less than 25%. So this is where revenue refers to the average monthly sales for 2019, and debt service includes existing and new debt. So new debt means the CDFI will add let's say they're going to give a new loan to this person, and they've said, okay, this business currently has like $350 in monthly debt payments, and we're going to give them another loan that's another $200, so they'll have $550 of debt. So they will take the new debt and the existing debt, add them together, and then calculate this ratio number. Okay. So here's some steps I came up with you. So first, you need to identify current monthly business debt, which means the monthly loan payments. And I did say that the trick with micro enterprises is this all could be mushed together in one account, on one credit report. So they may be using one credit card for both business and personal, which ideally they'd have 2 credit cards, and one is totally business, paid out of a business checking, and one is totally personal, paid out of personal checking. So if you can straighten that out for people, it would be good. And then you got to ask clients, but if things are kind of mushed together, you got to ask client which debts are personal, which are business, and you can use the bank statements to ascertain which debts the business is paying. You know, that would be the easiest way to do it, and have a conversation with them about just separating their business and personal debt, and get very clear on what their minimum monthly payments are. So let me just go back to jams and jellies for a sec. So if we scroll up to even like a bank, let me scroll up to a good section here. So remember here, it says monthly payment in this square. So here's the monthly payment for the BMW, and then they have a student loan here for 373. So those are probably the same every month. And then they have this installment loan. I don't know what this is for, but installment usually means like a car loan or something. That's 512. But at some point when you get to a revolving loan, you want to get to this $56, even if they have, let me see if yeah, the balance up here. So the balance is 2,188. But their minimum monthly payment is 56. So grab the 56. You're looking for the minimum monthly payment. So if we wanted to see what this person owed, because here we start to get to the closed accounts, and let's just say this was all business, just for the sake of argument. We take the $56, add it to the $512, add it to the $337, add it to $389, and then we'd have their monthly business debt service, okay? But again, you've got to talk to them and see if these are business loans or personal and how they're paying for them. Then step 2 is you have to determine that 2019 business revenues using a tax return or a quality P&L. So if you have business owners that have really good bookkeeping systems, like they're using Xero or FreshBooks or QuickBooks or online or something, and you look at that P&L, you can kind of scan through the P&L and how they've set it up and how they're managing it, and it looks like a good P&L, that would work. Or you can try to grab their 2012 tax revenue and look at the annual total and then divide by 12 for the monthly average. And then you divide the monthly loan payments by the monthly average and see if it's under 25%, right? So that their monthly debt is 25% or less of their total monthly revenues. So the last thing I wanted to show you is going back to my case study for our underwriting classes, show you, I didn't get tax returns for everybody. Sorry, let me find out where the tax returns are. Tax return is on page 25. So close your eyes, I got to scroll through here. So here's a tax return. And so what shows up is business income or loss on line 12, but we're talking total revenues. That's the net profit number, not the total revenues. So many of your business owners are going to be sole proprietors, and they use this form called a Schedule C. And if they have a Schedule C, now if they're LLCs and stuff, that's a whole nother matter. And I actually, to be honest, didn't get into structuring training on all the tax forms today. I just decided to use what I had handy, which is the Schedule C. And you look for this line 1, gross sales receipts or sales, and you take that 61,489 divide by 12 and get a monthly average for 2019. And then divide, you know, let me go back to my slides here. Then divide your monthly loan payments by that monthly average revenue and see if you're under the 25% scale, you know, threshold. I do want to talk a minute about FICO score, but let me pause here and see, are there any questions? Was that clear?
There's one comment in the chat about, Michael put it in the chat about, you know, errors on your credit report, that he had a client applying for financing. TransUnion said that he was deceased.
Oh yeah, one of the women on mine was deceased too. I know. It's pretty
but
wild.
it was hard to fix. He said it was really hard to fix. It's, hi,
Oh,
I'm applying for a loan, but I'm alive. I'm not deceased.
I'm
Hi.
sorry to hear it was hard to fix, because mine, it was difficult to fix. I'm sorry to hear that. So my heart breaks for somebody who has errors that are challenging to fix, because that can really prevent you from accessing credit that you deserve. And I don't know, maybe that's something in our coaching academy next year we can think about adding as an idea, as like tips for like fixing that stuff and making it happen, because it keeps people out of the capital access that they need and should have. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, I just have a few more slides and then we'll just open it up. I just wanted to give people some basic information. FICO scores requirement depends on each CDFI for this. So there is no minimum FICO score set by the program. Each CDFI has their own standard for FICO scores. Some say there's no minimum, some have a minimum. Some recently, one lender, excuse me, my earbud just fell out. One lender told us that they upped their FICO score from 650 to 680 or something recently. So you kind of, this is where like you meet the lenders and getting to know your lenders, and just, I think most of them will tell you at least their FICO score requirements. It'd be super helpful for you to have, to know which lenders require a minimum FICO score and which don't. Just for your information, this is not what banks think. Banks usually won't even look at you until you're probably at 680. But I think for CDFIs, this is kind of reasonable to say under 500 is pretty poor, but most CDFIs will keep looking at people in the 500s. They'll try. And certainly I think for most CDFIs, they'd say over 630 is pretty good. So that just gives you an idea about it. And then here's, I'm not going to go through this. We're going to share these slides. There's some links in here. There's places to get a free credit score from Experian. There's credit cards. Banks and credit unions offer free FICO scores as a perk to their customers. Credit Karma apparently doesn't exactly give you a FICO score, but it gives you some kind of score that they cull from other information. I don't know the algorithm there, but Credit Karma gives you something, or you can just go to MyFICO and purchase a one-time for $19.95. So there's different ways. And I think it's a great service if you're working with low-income clients and you have having a hard time getting a free score for them. I think using some of your grant money to your operations money to pay for their FICO score once a year is a great service, so people can kind of see how they're getting judged. I don't like using FICO scores as a way to do underwriting decisions because they're biased against the people we like to serve, but it's just part of the reality of life and certainly understanding where you stand. If you take Micro Lending Essentials, I go into much more depth about what the FICO score is and how it works and what the formula is and all that, but you can always Google it online. There's a ton of information. So here's some data. I can get you some 4 PDFs, and here's some links. We can get you, so reading a sample credit report PDF, I thought that was super helpful. The TransUnion user guide and the experience credit profile, or this like how to read our credit reports, and they have that code, you know, the code explanations in there. I did find you that experience sample credit report. Oops, excuse me. I'm getting familiar with business tax forms. Here's the IRS website. I think if your eyes swim a little bit if you said, oh, how do I find business income on an IRS tax form, you can go educate yourself there. I did find a review of the best credit repair companies in 2020. So there's a link there. And I always recommend Credit Builders Alliance Training Institute for more information about credit. And if credit is something you're still learning about, I think Credit Builders Alliance membership is worth every penny to get yourself educated, access their resources, and help your clients. So we can take questions, and then we just still have almost a whole half an hour to just see how is the application process going okay? Have you heard back from any unmatched or declined borrowers? Is there any training you want? Would you like a monthly check-in? So
Susan, I'm going to ask you to log back in again. We're getting that thing. I'm going to pop those questions into chat, and we'll get going while you while you log back in. So have people been putting their clients through, and have you, like, does everybody know where the reaction buttons are? It's that little happy face. If you take your cursor down to the bottom, happy face, it's a happy face with a plus, and you can put thumbs up or clap or something like that if you have been getting your clients through the application process. I only see one thumbs up, so this maybe the training that Susan just presented is applicable to other loan products, but so it's only I'm clicking back and forth. People not using the California Rebuilding Fund or getting their clients through. Just out of curiosity, or want to give any feedback on whether or not they're getting matched. Kyle, are your people getting matched?
Yeah, the clients that I've talked to have gotten matched, even some that I thought were going to be challenged.
Oh, Okay, interesting. What about you, Allie? You were the other person that, Allie Lopez, that put a clap up. She has been matched. Marlene has a match, but some declined. Okay. Well, it's good that you know they're declined, because right now, as Carolina mentioned, Dan mentioned, they're trying to get through that privacy issue, so that we can pass on the unmatched borrowers to training programs. But so definitely, when you're coaching your clients through this, just make sure that they know if you're sending them, make sure there's some kind of feedback loop for you, so that you're able to help them if they aren't matched and figure out why, or maybe help them find other sources of capital. And is there, who else is, I mean, other issues with
The
trading?
only other thing I
Yeah.
thought of, Heidi, that I didn't put in my presentation is that if your clients are cash-based and not reporting or depositing their income, that can hurt their chances to qualify. So it's one of those transition things as a training that it's great to try to help your clients report and deposit their sales, because it will actually qualify them for more capital.
That sounds almost like it might help for Yuri's clientele. There are separate questions. Is it okay? Hold on, Marlene. We can answer your question in a second. Has anybody been having issues with the application? Are people getting their notifications? That's why we had the notification question, because we had a couple people bring it up at a different call. No problems with the application. I'm going to take that as good news. Then, if nobody's has any, this is your opportunity to. This is your opportunity to let us know if there's issues. So that's really exciting. So this is good. Yes, Natalie had one client who was matched but was unsure of next step. Sounds like they should reach out to the lender, but also her turnaround time could be a couple weeks. That is absolutely true. If they're getting, with all these applications, if they're getting inundated, they're going through them as fast as they can. Just make sure she hangs on to that email and she knows who the lender is. And then if another week goes by, then just maybe ping the lender. And if you need help getting in touch with some of the lenders, we could help that. Yeah. So she should just be a little bit patient. And once they get to you and they get to your application, then it should be a quicker turnaround. The one thing I do want to say, Natalie, is if they haven't heard from the lender yet, some of the lenders are doing another automatic email, like fill out this application. Then maybe, just say, hey, make sure they didn't get another email. So check their spam from that lender, search for that lender, and make sure they didn't get that hold. I gotta.
The other thing, Natalie, I'd say about reaching out to the lender is the CDFIs participating in the California Rebuilding Fund. They all triaged their platform or their space or whatever on that Connect2Capital site so that they didn't get deluged with more applications than they could handle. They were all pretty cognizant of that. So I think if they know who they were matched with, I don't think it would be at all burdensome to reach out to that organization and say, hey, I would go find the senior loan officer or one of the loan officers on the website, if you can find it, and say, hey, I was matched to you guys on the Connect2Capital website. I'd love to start a conversation. I always think lending goes better when there's information in a relationship. So if they feel like reaching out and starting that conversation, I really don't think it could hurt. And I haven't heard from any of the CDFIs that they're getting flooded and can't keep up, because they managed their flow so that wouldn't happen. It always looks good too. I think it looks very proactive for the borrower to reach out and say, hey, got any questions? I understand you're going to need more information from me. Can I start collecting that? Pretty much all the CDFIs are going to ask for more information. They're going to ask for supporting documentation like bank statements and tax returns. And actually sending an email saying, hey, how can I send you some, or have a phone call? Tell me how many tax returns I should start gathering or whatever. It would look good. It would look good.
Yeah.
I think.
Let's see. And then, so you talked about the lenders, and then, Carla, did you talk about, sorry, I had a little,
Dog thing. Cute little dog thing.
a little dog thing. I'm not sure, Carla's comment about profitability. Susan, you want to address that?
Oh, what was it? I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. What was it?
We can add back depreciation and amortization.
Yes.
So just in case they may not show profitability at first glance, if you add back those two things,
Yes.
they might they might be profitable.
And
so.
amortization's kind of weird, but depreciation, and again, you're probably gonna have to look at the tax returns to find depreciation. Depreciation sits on the balance sheet, and your average micro business is not going to have a very good balance sheet, if any, or maybe not an accurate one. I mean, I'm pretty good at this, and my balance sheet isn't terribly accurate. So I would go to the tax return, and there's a schedule in there someplace that shows depreciation. I don't remember the number for the depreciation schedule for a business, but that's where you'd go look for that and perhaps add it back in.
What about training? It is additional training or check and call. Do people also? I said I would do one check and call, just in case you know anybody has any questions or are having issues a month in. But for any other topics, yeah.
Can I correct myself really fast?
Oh yeah, sure.
Hold on. Let me just. Can I share my screen just 1 minute? I just went and checked. Again, this is my Jams and Jellies case study. I'm on the Schedule C. Again, oops, sorry. The Schedule C, which is the profit and loss form, business form. And if you look down here on line 13, depreciation, $900. So it's a non-cash deduction. So you could add that $900 back in. But remember the thing about, so that's for profitability. The debt to income ratio is based on gross sales, but the profitability, you could add that depreciation back in right there. Okay.
We talked about profitability on a previous call, so I'll get that link up for you. But what about, you know, additional training?
Yeah. We feel like we've covered the big topics now, but if you guys think of one, send it to me or Heidi. And if you want a monthly check-in meeting, we're happy to do that. It sounds like Dan's happy to do it too. And you know, if that grant program gets up and running, we may start another series so that people can get information about that, but that'll be a wait and see. It looks like people are dropping off, Heidi, and I don't see anything new in chat, so maybe we're done.
I think so. Susan and I'll stay on for a couple of minutes. If people want to.
Thanks for coming. I hope it was helpful.
Everybody